What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Buffalo Commander podcast. And Alex doesn't know what to do with his hands, but Alex, it's good to see you. Welcome, everybody. It's been a while that both of us have been on. So, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Thanks for coming on finally. You've been avoiding me for feels
Yeah,
like months.
I saw you had somebody else on. I got a little jealous and thought, you know what, I need to get on here and make an appearance. So,
Yeah, yeah,
here
just
I
to
am. So it's
save
good to see
face
you.
because the season's going to start soon, man.
Yeah, so we're one preseason game in, and we've got a couple joint practices, some training camp, and this is a good time for us to maybe give an idea of what we think our key takeaways are. I think we'll focus on the Commanders today a little bit more, but obviously, if you've got some special things you want to add, please feel free to. But that's what I wanted to do is just mention a couple things. Anything off the top of your head that you wanted to start with, or you want me to get right into it, Alex?
Um, so Matt Milano's out till the playoffs, probably. That's
Yeah.
pretty depressing.
I know you mentioned that on your last, YouTube
Yeah,
video.
we were
Yeah,
Randall and I were overly optimistic about it being a
turn.
stinger or
Yeah,
something. Like when he rolled, the thing is he rolled over on he hit a bag and he rolled into the ground and it wasn't a hard hit and he got up with his arm hurting. It's like usually when you have a torn bicep, the ligament snaps because of tension on that. And
yeah,
I just don't see where that happened unless it's just been building and it's been getting weaker and weaker. I'm guessing from heavy lifting over time and then
yeah.
just hit it the wrong way. That's the only thing I can think of the why that bicep would just tear like that. So
Yeah,
he had surgery, or he's going to have surgery soon. Maybe he had it yesterday. So they're going to hold him out. I think December is very generous. I think that's a charitable line of time. I don't think that's going to happen. I would be more inclined to say that the timeline is going to be for the playoffs. So
yeah,
so that's unfortunate. We do have a guy we drafted 2 years ago, and Dorian Williams, who was brought here to be an eventual replacement for him at weak side linebacker. He's
yeah,
a very good athlete, and we'll see how he goes. But
yeah,
it's going to be hard to replace an All Pro.
yeah.
But he's 30 plus years old now too, so that happens when you get older.
What's going on with Curtis Samuel? I saw your post on X, and
Yeah,
by the
no
way,
one knows. So
okay,
on Monday he missed no Tuesday he missed practice. Monday or Tuesday he missed practice because there's only been 2 practices this week. And when he missed practice, it was from general soreness, which happens sometimes you get hit. He did take 2 pretty big hits in the game, the preseason game this past weekend. So that's the only thing I could think of. But then he missed joint practices yesterday as well. So he didn't really clarify on what it was. So I
yeah,
don't know if it's still general soreness or something new or something else
yeah.
precautionary.
Well, I think this is a good time as any to tell you that we actually, he came from Washington, and we knew he was messed up, and we kind of just let you guys pick him. It was almost kind of like a Trojan horse to blow it up for you guys. So you're welcome. He's out for the season. So.
Yeah. Well, he was pretty healthy in Washington other than
No,
that
he was
first year.
actually. I was
Yeah.
worried when we first got him a couple years ago. I was like, this guy's going to be like the perennial injured all the time, and he wasn't. He was great. So no, I'm curious to see what happens with him because he was great for us. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I said this a couple months ago before training camp started that I think he's going to be a great pickup for you guys when it's all said and done. So we'll see.
Yeah, I liked what they thought of him as his role in the preseason game.
Yeah.
He caught a screen. We don't run a lot of screens. He caught one of those screens that we threw digs last year, bubble screen. He caught it and took it for 15 yards. And I was like, that's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he caught there was a mesh concept where the receivers, best way to explain that is the receivers kind of mesh, right? Go like crossing the field.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a stop route. So he meshed and then he stopped wide open. The C's parted. He caught it. And this is where the big hit came. Some dude crushed him in his back. So that's where I think the soreness is from. It might just be that. And he just needed a few days. I mean, he's not that old, but they wanted him to be fresh for the season. If he's feeling any kind of lingering effects, he should probably wait it out. So it's probably nothing, but I was annoyed by it.
Yeah, I saw your post, and definitely follow us at Buff Commander on X if you don't already, because Alex gives some good insight on there as well. But yeah, so I always need to remind myself this is just preseason, and any Washington fan knows that this is our time to shine usually, and then the season starts and we suck. I was so excited this time last year with Sam Howell, all these different posts from media saying how great he looked. So you always need to pump the brakes. So the first and foremost, the most important one for us to mention is Jaden Daniels, obviously. I think he looks exactly how we would hope that he would look.
Mm-hmm.
We can't take anything else away from that.
He
hasn't done anything for us to be concerned, but he looked okay in the preseason. It's one drive. It's a vanilla defense. He did a bootleg. I mean, he did that one throw. I get it, but I'm not going to take anything away from that.
Yeah.
My biggest concern still is going to be, can he protect himself? And we won't know that until the season starts. So right now, though, I'm feeling good about him. But, we're not going to get any information until week 1. So
I think he's exactly as advertised. What we knew about him in the regular the college game, now translating to preseason and even in training camp. So you had joint practices yesterday with the Dolphins, and teams typically show a little bit more in those because they're not especially when they're not playing each other during the year. They typically show more because they know they're not going to face you, and they want to see if their stuff works. So Miami wasn't holding anything back supposedly yesterday on what they were showing. Versus the previous year, unless they added some wrinkles, which everyone does. So, but I thought he looked good in the preseason game. He was he checked out of that play for the deep balls on third down. Was that a third down play? And then that was a beautiful throw to Diami Brown where he wasn't open. He just threw it to this only spot he could catch it. I wouldn't advise doing that a lot. The checkout, yes, but like throwing that pass was a beautiful ball, perfect throw. During the regular season, it's probably not prudent to throw that pass unless he's got some sort of separation. Just because he's not going to out jump anybody or win a jump ball situation. So I'd just be worried about it as the risk. But if that's Terry McLaurin, I throw it regardless. I
agree with that.
Yeah, and then he ran one in, which was great. It was a nice little bootleg. No one was ready for it. And then he looked good. So I was impressed. Sennett looked good in the game too. I think that he was like 4th. Was he 3rd or 4th on the depth chart before the game? Because we were both like, that's shocking that he's so far.
He was 3rd behind Bates. But So that actually leads me to a couple other people key things here. So you mentioned Diami Brown. So I had mentioned on several videos that we did that I really thought maybe he'd be on the chopping block. I didn't see enough. It's not like he had blow-away speed. He was a good route runner, but it just seemed like every time he had that, a contested catch, he would drop it.
Yeah.
And I didn't think he'd make it. But from everything that everybody is saying, all the media reporters and even the coaches are hinting to, he's had an amazing offseason, preseason.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw some glimpses of that with that catch from Jaden Daniels in the first preseason game. So I think that's something to make note of, that he might be a bigger role in this offense than he was in the past. And, it's one of those things where when you have a totally new coaching regime, it's interesting to see how they handle players because a lot of, sometimes if you draft a player, you're going to handle them differently. Your pride is in play. You play more than you should. And I thought especially with Diami, it might be that case where he doesn't actually hang around, but they seem to like him. So,
they may have an idea of him similar to what Buffalo had for Gabe Davis, where they like him because he's a little bit better blocker. He's got a little more size. He's not super fast, but he's not slow. And when he gets deep, he kind of stacks the corners really well. It's just, if you do that, you're going to have to win contested catch situations. And he hasn't. He did that in that game. And I think he's shown a little bit more of that in this preseason, in this training camp, but that maybe not be that's not his game.
That's not his game. Yeah. Well, it could also be one of those things where a quarterback kind of tends to develop a love, so to speak, of a particular player.
Yeah.
That's like their comfort player.
Yeah.
Maybe that's going to be Diami Brown. I don't know. So
and Jahan's just probably better suited for the slot, and I think they're realizing that.
Yep.
And they're seeing
you're giving me these perfect segues. So that's the next guy I wanted to talk about.
All right.
Yeah. So obviously there has been some cues here as to whether or not he will even be in the starting rotation at the top. So I don't think he's going to get cut. But it does lead you to believe that maybe, this guy's it's getting to the point where, he definitely was overdrafted. I think we can say that.
Sure.
And the reason we're saying that is the amount of snaps that he took in the first preseason game and the comments that Dan Quinn is flat out saying in press conferences, which is this latest one. He basically said that the effort by Dyami Brown wasn't there and he wanted to see more effort.
You mean Jahan?
Yeah.
You Jahan, not Diane. You said Dyami.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dotson.
Yeah.
He wants to specifically see him working harder, even if he doesn't have the ball. Like, how is he doing on his right? Is he beating the person even if the ball doesn't come to him?
Yep.
And that's really interesting. Now, it could just be that he ends up playing as one of the starters week one, and this is just kind of a mental thing because they don't feel like he's given his all.
Right.
That's kind of what I think. That's just my opinion. I think he's going to end up being a starter. It's just more of a mental thing. They want to see that he's really given it his all. But I don't know. What do you think?
So I heard the comment. I thought it was interesting that he brought up Zacchaeus and Dyami and then almost forgot to say Jahan's name. And he's like, well, and Jahan, like it was an afterthought almost. And I don't know, like Jahan's a good kid. When he talks, you could tell he doesn't seem like a bad effort player. I think it's just a physical, he's not a physical player, huh?
That could also be, we don't know, but no, you could very well be right that they kind of fell in love with Zacchaeus. It could also be that's just, it's a mind trick.
Yeah,
it's
it could be just
I don't know. This guy over here is looking pretty good. Yeah, it's like
a challenge.
I don't know, but anybody that really watched the games last year as a Commanders fan, when his first game, I saw it live. It was against Jacksonville, and he was amazing. He had the game-winning touchdown, looked great, had a lot of catches, had 2 touchdowns, I want to say.
You're right.
Carson Wentz, of all people.
Yeah.
But then last year, he struggled, and he dropped balls. I mean, we always heard that he had great hands, and he caught everything. He dropped a couple balls. It seemed like maybe he was injured, but it was one of those injuries that wasn't disclosed, but it really affected him.
Yeah.
So, you do have some signs that maybe he's not the guy. And then add on top of that, Alex, that, remember, we could have gotten Olave. And we chose not to.
Yeah. Well,
we drafted back and we picked him. So
Olave
we had a history with Rivera where he didn't do what the board said. We saw that with Kyle Hamilton. We could have gotten him.
Yeah.
What's the guy from Virginia Tech that just signed a huge contract that we could have picked up? He was a defensive player. It is a really weird last name. It's like a long one. But that's another one we missed on.
Oh, shoot. Who was it?
Yeah, I can't remember. And then also, the latest Forbes. And we could have gotten, Gonzalez.
Yeah.
So, and it makes me think that maybe this guy was a bust. But again, we don't know. There could be just a mental thing going on here, but I think that's one of the key things to take away and really watch this season.
So this is what I think probably they're seeing is, and it's probably subconscious, is that Zacchaeus is probably performing the second best out of anyone as far as consistency goes, but he's 5'8", right?
Yeah.
So he's more suited to be a slot player. And Dyami is better suited on the outside, not in the slot, because he doesn't like possess that quick twitch, route running in the middle of the field. He's not going to be that kind of guy. So they're probably thinking, well, Zacchaeus, Dotson is more suited for the slot. Like he is only 175, 180, 5'11-ish. Like he's quick. He's a route runner. That was his thing in college. And he's not an outside receiver. Like he's too easily jammed. He can't get off press sometimes. Like he can't utilize his quickness that he has because he's pretty quick. And
but
they're going, well, if Zacchaeus is outperforming in the slot, we'd rather have Dyami on the outside and Zacchaeus in the slot and let Dotson be the fourth guy, which is confusing because when this whole thing started, I was like, well, Zacchaeus can be your backup slot. You're going to have Dyami Brown's going to be on the chopping block, of course. right? He's going to be one of the back end receivers, and Dotson is obviously the number 2. But now, it's kind of flipped on its head. So that's kind of what I think they're thinking.
Well, it kind of makes you wonder if he was offered up in a trade, maybe in that Brandon Ayuk situation, if he was offered up, because they've shown signs that they're not really in love with him.
That's possible. Ayuk would have been so good for you guys, but
I know.
He's so expensive. He's going to cost $30-something million a year. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
So,
well, you mentioned Senate. So
yes,
I think that's one thing. I know it's early. I know it's just been one preseason game, but this dude, Chris Cooley 2.0.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. He plays just like Chris Cooley. And then I was listening to the Kevin Sheehan podcast the other day, and he pulled up, of course, Chris Cooley's on that show all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're even the same height, basically. I mean, Chris Cooley is a half inch shorter, but he weighed about 5 pounds more. But other than that, they are identical.
They're like the same dude. Yeah.
And they play, you used the term bowling ball. They play exactly the same.
Yeah. Once he gets in the open field, he starts running around. It's like just people bounce off of him, you know?
Yep. And I know we've got Bates, and right now he's number 3 tight end, Senate. But I think that with Ertz and Senate and Bates, he's not a bad player. This is going to be such an important position for Jaden Daniels. That might be his kind of like his comfort blanket, to use. And it's going to be a big part of Kingsbury's offense too. So to know that Senate, I know we don't know for sure, but I just kind of looks like it. To have that as such a strong position, I'm pumped about that. Ertz, I'm a little worried he can't stay healthy, but if he can, he knows this offense. I'm pumped about that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
He looked good and yesterday, I guess, is a good transition to the joint practice, but he looked really good against Miami yesterday. Zach Ertz did. And it's going to afford you to be able to play more 12 personnel where you have 1 running back and 2 tight ends.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait.
So that's going to be better for you. Those sets, the interesting part is you would think 2 receivers, 2 tight ends, and a running back. You'd think that that's a running set, but it's the most efficient pass set in the league. Like they run efficiency, like EPA numbers on it, and it's always the best package because they have to bring an extra linebacker in. So if you have 2 tight ends who can run and catch, you're running against a linebacker, not a corner, because they're worried about you not being able to get enough people in the box to stop the run. So it's an easy play action pass. So the funny thing is 11 personnel, we have 3 receivers and 1 tight end and 1 running back. Those are the best efficiency for running the ball.
Right.
Because the corner comes in instead of the linebacker in their personnel. And then they don't have enough people in the box to block, to come in and tackle. So it's an interesting thing. You can kind of throw different like wrinkles at people.
Yeah.
And I heard Zach Ertz look great yesterday. I heard that you can go into what you've heard, and I'll tell you what I kind of searched around on the Miami beat people's stuff to see kind of what their ideas were, and it was just glowing stuff about Jaden Daniels. I don't know if you heard the same.
I did, but again, I always just try to temper myself when I see that because none of us know. You could look up things from a year ago about what people said about Sam Howell. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. Preseason too.
Well, the other one I want to mention that I'm excited to see about, I want this guy to really succeed, Jamin Davis. So again, another overdraft, I think, by Rivera, but it doesn't mean he can't be successful.
Sure.
And he's with a new, really good defensive coaching group. So I'm excited about that. The last preseason game, he actually was up on the line with his hands down in the dirt a couple times, and I'm really.
Did he look good coming off the line? I didn't notice him.
No. I mean,
he still looked like shit.
Well, I think if you're going to do that, there's only one goal, and that's to get to the quarterback. If he's not doing that, then I don't know if we can really grade him on it. So we'll see. But I think that's a good sign. And then Luvu actually. Dan Quinn actually said that he's probably, in different words, he said that he's going to be moved around a lot. Yeah. Kind of like Micah Parsons. He's not a Micah Parsons. I'm not trying to say that, but that's exciting too.
I'm just better in coverage.
To see this defense, man. It's just going to be something totally different.
Yeah, Micah can't do what Luvu can do, and Luvu can't do what Micah does.
Yeah.
They're just different players, but you move them all over the place.
Yeah.
It gives you interesting setups. Like, for instance, Buffalo's middle linebacker and Matt Milano as well are both really good moving around and blitzing the quarterback. Doesn't mean Luvu can't be an effective pass rusher. He's just not going to be a full-time pass rusher. But if you move him all over the place, I mean, I think they're looking for Jamin Davis as well to like just be. They're trying to find somewhere to put him because they don't want to waste the investment.
Yeah, no, and he can't be out in space. That's one thing we know now.
Yeah, not in coverage. He's not going to be that kind of guy.
No.
Oh, I did hear. What's his name? Sanders still had a really good rep on
he's starting.
Tyreek Hill yesterday.
Oh, really?
He locked him down at the end zone.
He looks great. He's a starter. I think. Yeah.
I think they're trying to figure out a way to put him on the boundary. They're like, man, our corners on the boundary are not that good. He's a slot corner, but like, can he play out there? I mean, maybe. I don't know. Like with what you got going on, he's definitely your best corner at this point.
Yeah.
But I didn't hear anything bad about Forbes yesterday, which is
that's another one on my list just because it's intriguing to watch. But I'm not sold. I saw a couple things about how he looked good in the preseason. I mean, what are you going to take away from that? Nothing. I mean, he looks goofy out there. I don't know how else to describe it. I know I shouldn't worry about the optics of it as long as he makes plays, but I just don't see how he's going to turn it around. They obviously want to, they're using him a lot. They put him against Garrett Wilson, in the first joint practice.
Yep.
I haven't seen the Miami stuff. Have they been putting him in hard spots with Miami?
So it's a little different. Like the things that he struggles with are things that he has to like that Miami doesn't do.
Oh,
so that's probably why you didn't hear anything because like speed's not a problem. It's more of just lateral agility and turn your hips and moving to the right direction. Like I'm surprised. I mean, I guess they didn't have him on Tyreek Hill because that would be a hard cover. But he mainly struggles with like physicality at the catch point. Like he's going against like an AJ Brown. Like he's lost. He doesn't know what to do with a guy like that.
That's what it looks like to me. And it could be that they already know that and they're just hoping that he shows something to change their mind.
Yeah. Or backup. Maybe he's a backup, like we're doing that with Elam.
I don't know. Maybe they do have confidence in him and we'll see. But I'm not sold. I just don't see. He looks like last year in so many situations.
He's a liability physically, and I don't know if that's ever going to change.
Right.
He did put on. I heard he put on 17 pounds this year, but he doesn't look 180 to me. Still, he still looks 165.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they Buffalo did something interesting with Kyer Elam. He was our first round pick 2 years ago, and I think the year before Forbes, and he struggled a lot and was caught grabbing people and lots of PIs and things like that. But he gave you an occasional interception, and he's really worked on his craft. And they have him as the third corner now, even though he's a first round pick. And if he keeps developing, I could see him transitioning to a starter next year. I wouldn't be uncomfortable this year based on what I've seen. But it's similar trajectory of they were probably well, at worst, he could be our third corner. And then if he develops, maybe he goes first. Now, Elam doesn't have the deficiencies physically that Forbes has with his size.
Yeah.
Elam's 6'1" and 195. He's got good size for the position. And Forbes I don't know if Forbes can, these really skinny guys, they never gain weight. They have to eat so much food just to put on a few pounds, he feels like that kind of guy,
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know.
So we'll see on that front. I also heard yesterday that Omar Kelly from the Miami Herald or whatever beat said that Daniels had 5 consecutive touchdown passes in the red zone.
Red zone. I saw that too. Yeah.
And he was like, this rookie's the real deal. And they're like, who are you talking about? Such and such from Miami. He was like, no, the Washington quarterback, not the players out there for us. He was being very pointed about. They said he was the best quarterback at the joint practice yesterday. That's how good he was. And Miami's defense is far more seasoned than your defense is at this point. You have a bunch of pieces that are good, but you haven't put them together yet. I mean, they said Washington's defense was almost as impressive, that they were shutting down Miami's offense for the most part.
Yeah.
So, and Doris Armstrong, your new pass rusher, he had like a couple sacks during the practice. Like they were like, this team is not as bad as you think it is, kind of thing,
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, who knows?
It could mean you're 4-12 again, or 4-13 again. Or it could mean you're, maybe you're 7-10. Maybe you're 9-8. I don't know.
You really have no idea. That's what's so intriguing about it. So
yeah, it is. It's going to be interesting. I think you're one of the more interesting teams, in the NFC this year, because your division's very funky. Like, I mean, if you watch Hard Knocks, the Giants are going to take a step back. They suck.
You're always dogging the Giants, and I agree. They always, but there's been so many years as a Commanders fan that out of nowhere they're in first place in the division or second place. They're going for the wild card. So I don't know. They do look like crap to me. We'll see.
Yeah. They got
Dallas. I think Dallas is going to take a step back.
I think Dallas has a very high propensity to take a step back. I think Philly's defense is still very suspect. Although they did get 2 good rookies in this draft.
They did. Yeah.
But that rookies are rookies, man, especially in the secondary. Other than quarterback, corner is the hardest position to teach as a rookie to come in. Like, it's a long developmental curve. It's not like guys don't come in like Sauce Gardner very often and just kind of take the league by storm. Usually they struggle for a little bit. So we'll see if they can do that. I just don't have a lot of hope. I don't think their D-line's overly good. I don't think that their linebackers are overly good. I think their secondary is suspect with a lot of young talent. I could see them taking a step back as well. I think the division is, I don't want to say it's like open to be had, but there are some signs that, like the Texans last year, I mean, CJ Stroud looked bad in preseason.
Yeah.
And then they won the division.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
That's great.
And you have probably more talent than they do.
You think?
Well, who is his receivers? He has the same running back as the Giants do now. He had Devin Singletary.
Yeah.
And Pierce, but he's more of a goal line guy. And then you had Dalton Schultz is a good tight end.
Yeah.
But then like Tank Dell is a good player, but like he was a rookie.
Yeah.
They had Nico Collins, who wasn't good before CJ got there. So
with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, I think we're going to see a ton of running. I really do.
Yeah, I think you're going to be a lot of option stuff too.
Yeah, for sure. But
you're going to have more read option with that.
And both running backs have great hands, so I think you're going to see a lot of that.
Yeah, they can both catch. Yep. Robinson's underrated in that capacity. Eckler can still run. People,
he was ranked 27th last year in carries. Brian Robinson, that's embarrassing.
That's low.
That's the enemy right there.
Yeah,
so I think we're going to see that flipped. Because the year before that, Brian Robinson had a ton of carries. So
yeah, Bieniemy too last year. If I can say that, I don't think he was really running Andy Reid's offense. I think that was his offense he was running with some tweaks from Reid. Huh?
That's why he's coaching at UCLA now. So.
Yeah. He's the offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah.
He's not the head coach.
No.
I didn't like what I saw from him. In the beginning, I thought it looked pretty good. And then he kind of got away. As the year went on, he got away from the run more and more and more and more, which is weird because he was a running back in the pros.
Yeah, that is weird.
And he just
and it also came out that players hated him. So
well, that's why he can't get a job. Yeah. You know that, right? Everyone freaking hates Bieniemy.
Everybody hates him.
Everyone.
Yeah, apparently, it was a practice where somebody fell down on the ground. And Terry McLaurin, who's like, that's our freaking figurehead of the team. Are you kidding me? Went over and like helped the guy up, and Bieniemy just goes off on him.
Really?
What the? Yeah.
Really?
And so that didn't ever.
It's just it kind of the team has gotten rid of all the toxicity.
Yeah.
And I think that carried over to draft day in some respects with your choices in the draft. Not taking Gonzalez, who I thought was the obvious pick, but and then not taking who was the other one you mentioned?
Well,
Olave.
Kyle Hamilton, who's a freaking Pro Bowler now.
Who?
Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah. You had the option of taking him, right?
Oh, dude, we could have, yeah. And I
Yeah.
can't remember who we took instead of him. I want to say Jamin Davis.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah, just the dumbest things. It's like, what are you doing, man?
Davis, when he came out, was a high prospect, but he wasn't like – there was questions about his coverage ability and his size immediately. But they thought he would be like a – this is right before the linebacker era shifted to like smaller guys who can cover, you know. And I think they just were, you know, these are all picks that I just think were just poor decisions on their part. Anything else you want to add about the camp or projections? Any kind of predictions, anything like that about the game this week? Or about the season?
Oh, by the way, just to clarify, this was in the draft where we actually could have drafted Kyle Hamilton, but we moved back and we got Jahan Dotson.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we could have also had Chris
Olave at that point. Yeah.
Just
he's a better player.
But no, that's all I got, man.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a touch base on what you thought you saw from the game. It's a 7:00 on Saturday, same time as the Bills game.
Okay.
Again, 2 in a row where we had the same exact time on the game. So, and then we'll figure it out from there. Any big plans for week 1? You guys going anywhere? You're just gonna watch it at home?
I need to be focused, man. I'm gonna be in my living room, door closed. If the kids make any noise, I'm gonna yell at them and tell them to go away.
Yep.
I'll be ready. Yeah.
Just send them down the street. Just let them walk around the neighborhood.
Yeah, whatever. It'll be fine.
They'll be fine. You got to let them walk around with like a knife and a gun. They'll be good. They protect themselves.
Yeah. I can't watch. I can't be in a bar or anything. I need to know. I really need to focus and know what's going on.
I think we're gonna because people may not know this. We're 100 miles apart in Virginia, and so we don't live in the same area. Cause we came from the same. We grew up together, but we don't live together the same area now. But I think me and a few people are gonna go to B-Dubs or either there's a barbecue place down here too that has games on. We're playing Arizona, so I feel fairly okay about that game going out for it. If it was like the Dolphins or the Ravens or the Chiefs, any fan base that has more people that I could potentially run into that we could potentially lose to, I will not go out to the bars at all.
That's funny.
You should have seen me when 13 seconds happened when we were the back and forth playoff game against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
We were at B-Dubs, and it was me, Derek, my daughters, who were teenagers, and my wife, and we were drinking, having a good time, watching the game. We've watched the back end of the game before that. It was Tampa with Brady and against the Rams, and it was just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It was just stressful. They all left, and it was just me and Derek left, and we were just sitting there in the main area, not at the bar, but like in the back area where there was TV set up. And what is that? Did you put that on the screen?
Yeah.
So I said, we were going back and forth, and there's a table next to us, and he threw the touchdown pass with 13 seconds left, and I was like, yeah. I looked at the people beside me, and I was like, that's right. That's right. I was giving them high fives. They were Chiefs fans. I didn't even realize it. And they were like, I was like, that's right. The AFC Championship goes through Buffalo. And they were kind of smiling about it. And I think they were just like, they didn't care. They were not that big of a deal. I thought they were Bills fans because they were watching.
Okay.
And then I looked at the table after that. I was like, wait, there's a guy with a Chiefs hat on. There's like 10 people at the table. I probably shouldn't have done that. And then we lost. And literally, like, I slammed a chair on the ground. There was they have wooden chairs there. They're like short. They're like stools almost. And I was like, God, and slammed it on the ground, and it broke. Like, collapsed.
My God.
And I looked down, and I was like, oh, shit. I'm going to have to buy this stool.
With Heather, like, oh, my God, Alex.
No, she wasn't there. Thank goodness. So then I look up to the waitress came over like 2 minutes later, and I was like, hey, I was just sitting.
I was just sitting here.
I was just sitting in this chair, it collapsed on me when I was sitting here. Maybe I was too heavy for it. It's built for kids or something. I don't know. And she's like, "Oh, it's no big deal." And I was like, "Okay, let's get out of here before she checks the footage."
Before they check the cameras.
Dude, that thing fell apart. Like it,
That's
like
so funny.
I mean, it wasn't put together well in the first place, but that's how I can't go to bars. I've left bars numerous times mid game where I can't handle it because I need to be able to, like, at my house, I've got the garage set up and I can just be as loud as I want.
Okay.
I
have a quick, very similar, just to kind of show why I have to watch a game by myself now.
Yeah.
It was probably 10 years ago. I was watching a Redskins game. I ordered a pizza. My friend Elliot had come over, and it just started, and we started to suck. And he asked if he could have a slice of pizza. And I was like, sure, man, you can have a slice. And then, like, the other team, I can't even remember who we were playing, like, do another touchdown. It was clear we're going to have another crappy, sucky season.
Yeah.
And I go, God, I said, fuck. I said, put my pizza down. Why are you eating my fucking pizza? And I go off on him because he's eating the pizza. And, yeah, he still jokes about that now.
Well, it's funny because I think that I hate to be like this, but we're both married, and it reminds me of, like, our wives. I don't know what your wife does, but I know what my wife's pretty good during football Sunday. But there are times when she leaves if the Steelers, she's a Steelers fan, they're not playing. She'll go out on Sunday while I'm watching the games, and I'll be meeting a few people in the garage. And then, like, if we're losing, right, or it might just be me sometimes, right, and I'm watching my game and we're down, we're losing, she'll walk in the room and go, "Oh, you guys are losing, huh?"
I know.
And I'm just like, yeah, we're losing.
They don't get it, man. One time she came in last season and looked at the score. Oh, you guys are winning. And it was who has the turnovers.
Oh.
And we had more turnovers than the other team. I'm like, no, Sarah, that's the turnovers.
Yeah. A score of 3-1 doesn't happen in football.
Yeah. We're actually losing 42-6
against the Bears. That was the Bears game, right?
I think it was the Bears, actually.
You told me that one. Yeah. It's like there's, like, this lack of, like, situational awareness where it's like
they don't get it. And
well, it's because they don't care about it as much as we do, typically.
Yeah.
Like, I've met some female fans that are really into it, get upset when they lose. But I'd say the by and large majority,
they're not
female fans out of, they're not super into it to the point where, like, if the Bills lose, I don't really want to talk to anybody for at least till Monday. I mean, that's really how I feel. I'm like, I got to process it. I shouldn't be this way, by the way. It's not a good trait to have. So, to be clear, my wife is right. I'm not. This is not good for me.
Right.
But I do get overly heated to the point where, like, any little thing will set me off. It's like, ooh.
Oh, I know.
It's like, oh.
I'm sorry, babe. I know you wanted them to win. Just
I don't want to hear that. Like, get out of my face. I'm gonna kill you. But yeah, that's
all right, man.
How I feel. All right, man. All right. Well, let's we'll check up next time. Everybody like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.
All right, guys. See ya.